Chris Roberts' letter from the chairman has hit the CIG website, and with it, it's brought a new roadmap. So let's get straight into what it does tell us, more importantly, what it doesn't tell us, and a couple of highlights. Now, before you run anywhere, I promise this isn't clickbait. I know this looks suspiciously like the one they had before, but if you look top left, it's got the progress tracker as well. That's the new stuff, but we've been reliably informed that this has been updated as well. It does only look 1 quarter ahead, but we have been told this part of the roadmap is the bit you need to look at if you want to know what time a feature or a ship or whatever it is hitting the persistent universe. This is the progress tracker, and this is what Chris Roberts had to say in his letter about this particular view. This view is solely meant to share what the teams are working on at any given time, and it should not be used to determine when a deliverable will hit the live servers. He then goes on to say, as we've mentioned before, we have over 50 development teams at Cloud Imperium, ranging in size from 4 to 20 team members. For this first launch of our new roadmap, we are showing 20 teams. These are all core feature and content teams that are upstream in development, meaning they set the major tentpole development deliverables for the rest of Star Citizen and for Squadron 42. What the hell does that mean? Well, as far as I can glean, this means that all of the progress, all of the work that happens on the front end stuff in Star Citizen starts with these teams. So those 30 teams that are not yet listed, those teams will only pick up work once these teams have begun it. So if it's not mentioned that it's being worked on for these teams, then it definitely isn't being worked on elsewhere. The notable exception for that, I think, is the whole back-end stuff, so iCache server meshing. That isn't listed at the moment, and that appears to be what they're going to be adding next. Now, if you're hoping for any major insights into when Squadron 42 will be with us, I'm afraid I'm not really able to help you, and neither is this roadmap. There is a section in that letter that says, for most games it is typical to not even announce the project until about 12 months out, and only start building awareness with marketing 6 months prior to launch. He then lists a couple other reasons and says, because of this, I have decided it is best not to show Squadron 42 gameplay publicly, nor discuss any release date until we are closer to the home stretch and have high confidence in the remaining time needed to finish the game to the quality that we want. And now this does tally with what we see on the roadmap. When you look at the Squadron 42 stuff and it mentions a chapter, there's no giveaway. It just says working on this chapter 13 of Squadron 42. There's no greater hints apart from a couple of bits like what artwork they're working on and working on landing and takeoff for capital ships. Other than that, there's no real giveaways. Nor are there any giveaways for what ships are coming next, the surprise ones. There are a lot of tabs that say unannounced. For example, there are 3 unannounced vehicle projects in the EU team and 4 in the US team. So there's clearly stuff in the pipeline that they're just not comfortable to let us know at this stage. So here are a couple of highlights from the roadmap as far as I'm concerned. First off, they actually call the Nova tank the Tonk in the roadmap, which I really quite like. They're working on a multi-crew permissions system, which hopefully will bring with it the ability for us all to kind of complete each other's refinery stuff and sell goods for each other. That would be really useful. A really interesting one is boat movement parameters by the vehicle tech team, where it talks about the movement capabilities of boats and other aquatic vehicles, which is quite exciting. Maybe subsea exploration, question mark. There's mag stripping and refills, so your magazines will become a feature in and of themselves, kind of like Escape from Tarkov, I guess. You'll be able to refill mags, take ammo out of mags, etc., which makes sense when you think there'll be different types of ammo around. Hacking gameplay is being implemented, and that seems to be a fair way on in its progress. There will be missions for both lawful and unlawful players where you're required to sneak onto a ship and download data. They call that the counterfeiting and data download missions. And the planets for the Nix system seem to be being worked on. Nix being a system obviously separate to Pyro. The other messages throughout the chairman's letter are that player base is up, 250,000 new players during the last year, during 2020. That money has gone up, so last year, 2019, was the most successful financial year to date for CIG, and apparently we are already 60% up on that. And then he's very keen to point out towards the end that this is making the player base very healthy, it's making the community very healthy, and that longer term backers need not worry about the financial viability of the project and not need to spend loads of money on the game either, because as people are buying game packages and the ships that they want, you know, long-term backers can just stay exactly at their level, and they do make a point of saying that our time and our feedback are just as important. This Squadron 42 news is a little bit that it's actually going to go less transparent at this stage. They are not going to release too much information. The kind of news program that went along with Squadron 42, the briefing room, that's being shelved for the moment. And it's basically because they've said that they don't want to use up too much of the non-spoiler footage because marketing campaigns can only last for so long. It's really hard to know whether or not this is a reflex reaction to what has happened with Cyberpunk. I doubt it. I think, you know, kind of this is just business as usual for CIG. They're actually just being a bit more upfront about the fact that they're not going to show us as much. So there are things in here to be pleased about, and there are things that maybe will raise a few flags for people. Firstly, great to see that they're having big influxes of new players. Really pleased to see that, and that the financial security is as far as we're aware, not in question. That's kind of encouraging to the rest of us that have got significant amounts of money invested in this game. But I can see there being a little bit of annoyance amongst members of the community that the roadmap doesn't have all the teams on it. It doesn't go particularly far into the future, basically 2 quarters at the moment. That it doesn't really clarify much in terms of what's being worked on with Squadron 42. And then actually mentioning Squadron 42, that development is becoming more and more hidden, if you want to be a pessimist about it. And I think there's a lot of merit to all of that. People were kind of hoping that there was going to be a beta last year. I've actually now going to go and adjust a video that I had that was saying that I was really hoping to see a beta this year, because off the back of what has been said, where Chris Roberts specifically mentioned, you know, we don't know anything about a game until 12 months out, and then we don't really see a marketing campaign until 6 months out. I wonder, although this is clearly not confirmed, whether or not that's a bit of a hint that we're not going to see anything this year either. Although, having seen what's happened with Cyberpunk, it is really not hard to argue, or it's not easy really to argue, with the notion that releasing something when it's done is better than releasing something when it's in a buggy state. For those that, you know, and I mean proper release, not just the alpha builds that we're playing around with at the moment. So I think that's kind of a, you know, it's going to be great for some, not so great for the others, and for a lot of people that it's not going to have cleared up masses, but there's some really exciting developments. I want to know what water vehicles, that, yes, give me boats, that will be amazing. I'd really be interested in what people think on 2 fronts. First, Nix, awesome, boats, awesome, all that sort of stuff. I'd love to know what other people think about that. Is it too soon? Do we need to be finishing space stuff before we start mucking around in the water? Don't know. Would love to know your thoughts on that. But also, how has this update affected you? Does it make you more confident about where CIG are going? Does it make you worry for the future of Squadron 42? What is your impression? Because at the end of the day, as CIG have said themselves, it is all about our feedback. And as long as we manage to present that, I think, in a constructive way, a way that they can say, okay, we can change and adapt and give the community more of what they want, I don't think there's really any feedback that we can give that is a bad thing. Let me know down in the comments below. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll see you soon.